So what I'm going to be speaking about today is leading in a VUCA world. Have you heard this thing called VUCA before? Anybody? V-U-C-A. What did he say?
Wake up, guys. Wake up and
But that is fantastic. That is exactly wake up, because the thing we are speaking about today is this thing called change. The one thing that is literally constant in our lives is this thing called change. Okay, so VUCA stands for 4 things. The first thing is the world we're living is exceptionally volatile. So all that is saying is that it is constantly changing and it's becoming more and more unstable every single day. So the U of VUCA is uncertainty. So all that is saying is it's becoming a little more difficult to anticipate or predict how things are going to change. Literally what used to work back in the day, how we used to do things, how we used to do forecasts, we cannot do that in 2022 anymore. And if we are going to do that, then you might as well stay there in 1980 where that thing used to work. Then complexity simply just means that things are just not as easy as it used to be. There's a layer underneath a layer underneath a layer. So if we're just going to look at the thing that is on the top, we are going to miss all the things that is happening underneath. And then the last thing is ambiguity. So this thing that one size fits all doesn't apply anymore. It used to work like that back in the day, but it just does not work anymore. If you look at that picture, have we seen this picture before? Yeah? Some of us will only see a duck, but there's also a rabbit there. But now because we see a duck, we will fight till the death to say, no, there's something wrong with your eyes. There's only a duck. Meanwhile, there's also a rabbit underneath. So that is all that VUCA is, very, very, very briefly. But it's speaking about this thing called change. Now, Adelia actually spoke about this earlier on. She spoke about how often you guys need to reinvent in this space. Now you see the first number on the screen. Now each business has a cycle that it goes through. So way back in the day, a business cycle used to be as long as 75 years. So what that meant was not much changed. You could start at a career, you could retire, and really nothing much changed. So in each business cycle there, so halfway through, that is when you needed to change things up. That's when you needed to reinvent. So only every 37 years or so, you needed to look like, okay, what is working, what's not working. We jumped from 75 years all the way to 15 years that a business cycle used to last. So that meant every about 7.5 years, we were like, yay, this is not working anymore, we need to change it up. We already answered the question. But the average one now for organizations is 6 years. So every 3 years on average for an organization is when we need to look at things that are changing, things that are not working. You answered the question earlier on, it's every 12 to 18 months in the industry that you are in. So just when you get used to something, something changes. And then you get used to that change and then they're like, hey, remember me? And something changes again. So now we can do one of 2 things. We can go like, okay, we need to move with this because we actually don't have a choice. Because if we don't change, if we stay the way that we're going to stay, we are literally going to hit the iceberg and we're going to sink. But now the thing is, change is not as easy as it just sounds. Oh, let's change. That's like me taking off a blue jeans and putting on a black jeans. If only it was that easy. It is not that easy. Now the thing I want to focus on today is something that Shahida and Adelia spoke about. What is the one thing that is constant in change? Who is sitting here? People is the thing that is constant. And what happens with change is, especially if you're in a big organization, we kind of forget how it's affecting the people that needs to carry out the change that is required. Do we just go like, oh, today, move, next, 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 and we don't actually realize the impact that it has on the people. Okay, I'm going to sketch a scenario. I'm going to need 4 people. You're going to do absolutely nothing. You're just going to sit here for me. So I need 4 people to bring their chairs, and you're just going to sit here. I promise you, you're not going to speak, you're not going to sing, you're not going to dance. You're just going to sit. I just want to use you as props. 4 people.
You know, you're asking us to change our seating position.
How dare I ask you to change? Okay, I've got 1 person. I need 3 more people. You're gonna face them.
Look how uncomfortable this is.
So you're gonna pretend like you're in a car, no? You're gonna pretend like you're in a car. So 2 in front. Can my darlings move here to the back? Come back. Come back. Back.
Oh, back.
Back. No?
Come into the change.
So you're in a car.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is a true story, no? So it was my friend's birthday. This is about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And we went out and we had we ate and whatever. Now we are busy going home. So I don't know if you know Beach Road, Muizenberg. So it's a Sunday evening, and this particular evening it was very windy. Now on Beach Road there are no lights, but we're like, we are gonna go. So we are 4. So this is Craig, this is me, and this is my friend Wesley, and this is my friend Tyron. So there's 4 of us in the car. And as we're driving, the car coming this way, it's not staying in their lane. This car just keeps swerving. Now on Beach Road, you get like this, what is it called? That silver barricades, barcode, whatever it's called. So now you're like, where must you go? What must you do? If you go across that way, you're going to go into those silver things. This is now to avoid the car. Or you're going to have to turn into the sand next door. So, car keeps coming. It's not. And we go into the sand. So, I'm going to sketch a scenario of literally what the 4 people in the car done. So we're driving, and we see the car and we swerve. This is me. Mommy, we were in an accident. But, Mommy. His girlfriend's name Charlene. Charlene, we were in an accident. Oh my word. I found everybody that I could think of that was related, connected to somebody they needed to know that we were in an accident. That was me. Did you watch the movie Rocky? One of the Rockies. Where he goes, Adrian. Did you watch that movie? So Craig is now laying on the steering wheel and he turns to me, Tina, are you okay? That's how I remember it, no? That is it. True story. Wesley, Wesley's out of the car.
Oh, God.
Wesley's across the road, on the other side, on the sand there. We said he updated his Facebook status, but he just got out and he walked. No? Tyron, now we went to Spur the afternoon for lunch, so there was still food, like what's it, the doggy bag. Shame. Tyron didn't know that you didn't know that the food went to the ceiling.
Oh,
so
gosh.
Tyron thought, someone's insides is on the ceiling of this car. Yeah. It's okay, we understand. Then, eventually, Craig called insurance and called whoever else. I always play the scene, it was slow motion. Remember, I must now phoned everybody. Look, it was like my mommy was in a movie, man. It was like slow motion and she's running and the sand is blowing. Are you okay, my child? I said, I think I hurt my neck. Don't move. Now is my doctors, my neck, alles. Okay, do we get the picture? In your groups, I want you to ask one another whose reaction of that night was correct. Who done the most correct thing in that scenario? But let us first give our 4 passengers a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're right, Tyron? So quickly, it won't take long, in your group, just discuss who do you think in that moment responded in the best possible way. You can discuss.
Wow. Responded to the threat or just after? Who responded the right way? Wow. Well, we don't know what.
Okay. Sure. Now I want to introduce you to, you might have heard this before. There's this thing called the 90-second rule. So many of you actually touched on this. So what happens to the body when something traumatic happens or any change takes place? The body responds, right? There's nothing that you can do for the first 90 seconds after something happened. You cannot control how you respond. So what happens is the adrenaline or whatever it is that's going in your body, it literally, the message goes here and it pushes all the way through to your body for about 90 seconds until all the toxins are flushed out. But within that 90 seconds, you either have a fight, a flight, or a freeze response. So nobody had the wrong response, because in that initial moment, how it hit them is how it hit them. So what happens to us when we are confronted with certain things and how we initially respond, there is nothing wrong with that. So what we sometimes do is, this is what I do, I say, no, Tina, you know better than this. You are wiser than this. You've now learned more. You're not supposed to feel this way. So I try to suppress what it is that I'm feeling, because logically, I know better than to feel how I feel in that moment. So what do you think happens after if you keep on suppressing what you feel in that moment? Sorry? Yes. And have you ever shaken a bottle of Coke? If you open that lid, it just leaves a poor little sugar grain on the floor. Why? Because we don't allow ourselves to feel what we feel. So if you think about in an organization setting, when you are given some new thing that it's change, when you respond to change, it is usually emotive and it's usually negative. Your initial response. And now your manager, your boss, your teamwork, they're like, no? What is wrong with you? And you're asking yourself, what is wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. There is absolutely nothing wrong with how you respond in the first 90 seconds. So if you keep on suppressing your 90 seconds, eventually that can become 10 years worth of 90 seconds that is waiting to explode. On the flip side, what we can also do, so in that first 90 seconds, we feel what we feel. And then when the 90 seconds is finished, because everything is now flushed out, we come to ourselves. We then have a choice. Do we now relive the 90 seconds that we felt before? Do we go back to the incident? Do we re-look at it? Do we re-go through it? Do we re-feel it? Now please, I'm not saying here after 90 seconds, if something traumatic happens to you, then after 90 seconds you are miraculously healed. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if we stay within that state that we felt within that first 90 seconds, whatever it is, and I keep loving that 90 seconds, and I keep loving the 90 seconds, and I keep loving the 90 seconds, I too can find myself 10 years later living in that same moment that I was only initially supposed to feel for 90 seconds. It's crazy, no? I find it fascinating. So after 90 seconds, what we should be doing is, okay, I now emotionally responded to that now. How can I? So when I was losing my mind, phoning the whole world, I was panicked. You know what happened? 2 months before that, friends that I've known for probably 17 years, they were in a car accident and they died. So in that moment, oh my word, I didn't even know how minor or major the accident was. I just know I was in an accident. When I was 19, I was in an accident, I broke my arm. Then 2 months ago, before that, my friends died. So I'm responding not only in my initial 90 seconds, I'm responding with previous words of trauma added to my 90 seconds. Does that make sense? Now, the guy, Wesley, who walked out of, there's nothing wrong with him going there. Honestly, I really, to this day, I don't know what he was doing there. We always just joke about it. But he could have gone and just reflected and like, oh my word, we could have died now. The person who freezes, they're not weak because they freeze. That's how they respond. But what do we go, Jan, you didn't even get up from your seat. You could have at least done something. Meanwhile, we don't know why people are responding the way they respond within the initial 90 seconds. Now, most people will say Craig responded in the best way. He was the most calm. He's a naturally calm person. Married to me, Tati. Very calm. Very different people. And he done the right thing. In that moment, we needed to phone the insurance. We needed to get the car out of the way. We needed to, or the people on the other side, are they fine? You know what happens? We eventually get into the ambulance. Wesley and Tyron is fine. We had minor injuries. And he just burst out crying in the ambulance. So was he wrong for crying? Was he weak for crying? No, it hit him then. So his adrenaline took him to fight. And then he processed. So none of whatever happened and how we felt in that moment was wrong. What we sometimes do as organizations, Gary, the guy who we went on a course, he said he was doing a training somewhere, and people said, okay, so if we now know people's responses are emotive, can't we train them to be rational? You can't. You're then telling someone to train their body to undo what it naturally does so that it can help you move forward with the thing that you want to do. That is bonkers to me. But that is how we sometimes do change in organizations, because there's such a lot of things that we need to do that we forget the people that is busy having to do those things. And us as leaders, so he was the driver, so he's in the driver's seat, so he's taking us home. He doesn't have to know all the things that he needs to know. He probably goes like, okay, maybe if I had to swerve that way, sometimes the leader, we don't know everything. And it's okay. We are not supposed to know everything. But we see ourselves as, oh, we're weak if we are standing here in front. Oh, if someone asks me a question and I don't know the question. The leader also has a 90 seconds. But the leaders sometimes don't allow themselves a 90 seconds, so they don't allow the other people their 90 seconds. And we just keep on going like robots. So let us not forget the importance of understanding the people that we sit next to at the table. Sometimes we think we know, but Auntie Shaida said, if I must tell you my story, and if I must stand here and tell you my story, we all have stuff. And we all come to work with our own previous 90 seconds that we had to deal with there at home, and now we come to work, hey. We don't take the time because we always, and I'm not saying the things of change that must happen is bad. I'm not saying that. It's just that sometimes we need to take a minute, take a beat, check in. What is happening? Why did Craig respond the way that he responded? Why did Tyron respond in that way? If Tyron stayed and froze, why did he not unfreeze? Instead of laughing at him, why don't we try and help and understand why he's still frozen after 90 seconds? Make sense? Are we still okay? Okay, I'm almost done, don't worry. I'm almost done. Now I want to give you another question. You don't have to go in your groups. Whose responsibility do you think in that scenario, whose responsibility was it to take control? Who would we normally say? So between Craig, myself, Wesley and Tyron, whose responsibility was it to phone the insurance? Whose responsibility was it to make sure that everybody was okay? We would say the driver, right? The person who's leading, taking us forward. What happens if he was unconscious? Do we go like, you know, we're not the driver, so we can't phone insurance. And that happens sometimes. You're always waiting for the leader, because that is how things are normally done. We're always waiting for the person on top to give us an instruction. Sometimes, maybe the tyrant who froze there, maybe he's after his 90 seconds, he goes like, guys, I have this suggestion, I have this idea, and we go like, no. You're just the guy that held the meat there, the doggy bag. Sometimes, we were speaking at the table earlier, sometimes the receptionist might know a lot more that is happening on the floor than you will ever know as the CEO. And that's okay, because you're not on the floor. The fact that she's or he's giving you a suggestion doesn't make your role less impactful or less powerful. They just get to see things that you don't, because you're not here. So our role within change is also important. All of us have something to bring. We just need to create a space that allows for everybody to air their views. But then me as a leader, I need to be okay and know who I am so that I don't get banged because Auntie Shahida now want to come tell me what I need to do. Because we're not going to get anywhere that way. Maybe Auntie Shahida's suggestion is going to change things for the better, but because it's Shahida, we just leave it. I want to end with one scenario. It's fine, you don't have to unlock. We had a dog, her name was Chelsea. So Chelsea passed away this year. Anyway, that's another story. So, this one day, Craig was busy. He was just getting out of the bathroom. And I'm walking into the lounge, and behind the sliding door, I see Chelsea shaking. But like she's not stopping, she's shaking. I say, Craig, something's happening to Chelsea. Mr. Calm. No? Just please remember that. Me? Crazy. I say, Craig, something's happening to Chelsea. What's happening? What's happening? I say, relax. I say, let's just get a plan. He literally, I'm not even exaggerating, ran up and down like a he didn't know what we needed to do. The same guy that phoned the car insurance, the whomever, whatever we needed to do, got us out of that situation. The same guy in a different scenario panicked. And I was like, we just need a blanket. Just put the dog in a blanket and let's take it to the SPCA. And that's what we done. It's my one moment that I can say was like, yes. So I'll always tell the story. No, I'm joking. It's not to make him look weak. It's just that sometimes your 90 seconds is your 90 seconds, guys. Different scenario, same person, different response. Different scenario, same person, took charge there. The one time. The thing is, when you go through this thing called change, Vuka really saying, look here, we need to change and be ready for change all the time. Don't forget yourself in the change. Whatever it might be, wherever you find yourself, whether it's at Cornerstone, at home, in your whatever it is, change is always going to happen, and how you respond to it is also very, very important. Thank you very much.